The winds of the abandoned plateau carried a quiet hum as the shuttle descended. The human named Daniel stepped onto the cracked ground, unsure why the Research Council had insisted this mission required only him. The ruins before him belonged to a long silent civilization whose last signals reached human networks centuries ago. Yet the coordinates he had been given were exact. The council said someone had requested him by name. He found that impossible, but he followed the assignment with a calm sense of duty. He moved toward the ancient pillars that spiraled upward like broken fingers, reaching for a sky that no longer cared. Local scans showed faint energy signatures. Nothing dangerous, only enough to hint at a dormant core somewhere beneath the earth. Daniel walked toward the central arch, noting patterns along the stone that shifted subtly as if reacting to his steps. The air felt charged. He reached the gateway and placed his hand on the patterned panel. The structure awakened. Light pulsed along hidden channels. A deep rumble traveled through the ground. Then she appeared. A figure emerged with a grace that felt unbound by time. Her form was humanoid, but unmistakably alien, shaped from shimmering lines that solidified into skin with pale luminescence. Her eyes carried galaxies in their depths. She stepped closer and spoke his name with a softness that unsettled him. Daniel felt no threat, only the strange weight of a moment that had been waiting for far longer than he understood. She introduced herself with a simple name, Lyra. Her voice held no accent, no distortion. It felt precise, as though she had practiced speaking to him specifically. Daniel asked how she knew who he was, but she only gestured toward the archway and urged him to follow. Unsure yet compelled, he walked beside her into the illuminated corridor that had awakened with her arrival. The path opened into a chamber filled with crystalline structures that glowed with inner warmth. Lyra explained that the city once thrived with her people. They were guardians of knowledge that spanned star clusters. They guided younger species, nurtured civilizations, and charted cosmic currents. Over time, they drifted across eras as easily as others traveled across rooms. Time was not linear for them. A single moment could stretch across centuries. A century could feel like a breath. Daniel listened, intrigued yet cautious. Lyra spoke as though every word was part of a story she had rehearsed for ages. When he asked what happened to her people, she paused. A flicker of sorrow clouded her gaze. She said their vision of time had become fractured. They began to lose themselves. Many faded into the folds of temporal currents they once mastered. Others chose to sleep until the universe stabilized around them. She alone remained awake in the city. She had waited. Daniel felt a chill at the word. Waited for whom? She turned to him and said the city held a final purpose, one that needed a human. A specific human. Daniel's confusion deepened. He had no connection to her world or her people. Lyra said he did not yet understand, because the truth lay trapped in an incomplete cycle that only he could finish. The chamber lights shifted. A crystalline pillar projected images across the room. Daniel saw glimpses of starships shaped like arcs of light, drifting across nebulae. He saw alien scholars guiding the growth of young planets. Then the images changed. He saw war, rifts in space tearing open, entire cities bending under temporal pressure, Lyra's people struggling to hold the fabric of reality together. Then the image froze on a figure who looked human. Daniel stared in shock. Lyra explained that the figure was a traveler from Earth's distant past. He had stumbled through a temporal anomaly created by her people. He had helped them stabilize the final breach. He gave them the chance to mend the damage. They honored him and returned him to his time with no memory of the encounter. Daniel felt an eerie connection. Lyra said that human carried a dormant imprint in his genetic line, a signature that only manifested once every many generations. Her people designed a safeguard using that imprint. It existed to unlock the final mechanism that would restore balance if their city ever fell silent. Daniel carried that imprint. He struggled to believe it. He asked if she had waited for a millennium just for him. Lyra nodded. Her people had foreseen the moment. She had remained in the suspended city while centuries passed above ground. To her, the time felt no longer than a long watch. To the universe, an age. They moved deeper into the complex. Columns lit one by one as they approached, responding to Daniel's presence. Lyra guided him to a platform at the center of a circular hall. The floor displayed a pattern resembling a star map. She asked him to stand in the center. Daniel hesitated. Lyra reassured him that the mechanism would not harm him. When he stepped into the center, the map ignited in soft radiance. Lines connected the stars, forming pathways of energy that rose into the air. Daniel felt warmth flow through his body, not painful, simply present, as though ancient knowledge examined him. Then the chamber vibrated. A large structure above them rotated. A pulse of light shot upward through the roof, escaping into the night sky. The city awakened fully. Walls hummed. Lights raced along corridors that had remained dark for centuries. Outside, the pillars resonated with harmonic sound. Lyra turned to him with relief. She explained that the pulse had stabilized a subtle fracture in the surrounding region of space. Without it, the planet would have eventually collapsed into a temporal void. This awakening restored the last safeguard her people had left. Daniel asked why she had not activated the mechanism herself. Lyra said her kind could not trigger it. Only the human imprint linked to the old traveler could complete the cycle. Her loneliness across the millennium had been part of her duty. She accepted it with a calm grace that struck Daniel deeply. As they walked through the city, Daniel noticed Lyra observing him as though trying to memorize each detail. He asked why she looked at him that way. She answered that she had imagined this meeting countless times. She had shaped her language, her manner, her patience, all for the moment she could speak to the one who would complete the cycle. Daniel felt a strange heaviness at her words. She said she did not expect gratitude. She expected only that he would fulfill the role written long before he was born. The city reached its full glow. Towers that had once been dull now pulsed with renewed energy. Lyra led him to the highest terrace. From there, the horizon spread wide with rippling streams of light created by the awakened mechanisms. Daniel watched in awe. Lyra stood beside him with quiet pride. He asked if her task was finished. She said yes, but she also added that there was one more truth he needed to hear. She explained that her people did not predict future events in simple visions. They wove possibilities. They saw Daniel not only as the key, but also as the final companion of the city's guardian. They believed he would choose to stay. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Lyra said she did not hold him to this path. She believed in choice. She had waited because she hoped the one who arrived would share the burden of guardianship. Daniel considered the life he knew. He had friends and colleagues on distant colonies. He had ambitions that stretched beyond standard assignments. Yet standing beside Lyra, amid a city that sang with renewed life, he felt a pull unlike anything he had known. Lyra said the role did not require immortality or abandoning humanity. The city existed in a unique temporal state. A year inside it felt equal to a moment outside. He could serve without losing the world he came from. Daniel asked how long her people had expected him to stay. Lyra said there was no set length. Guardianship was not measured in time, but in moments of need. The city might sleep once more for centuries between awakenings. Daniel would age normally elsewhere. The city would preserve his presence only during critical intervals. It was a strange bargain, but not an oppressive one. Daniel paced the terrace as he thought. The city resonated softly with his movements. Lyra watched him without pressure. She had spent a millennium learning patience. Daniel eventually asked if she feared being alone again if he declined. Lyra said she feared nothing. She had been created for service. But she admitted she had grown curious about companionship across years of waiting. She had imagined conversations, learning from him, sharing the silence, exploring the galaxy through his words. She valued those imagined connections, even if they never became reality. Her honesty struck him. She did not manipulate. She did not demand. She simply existed as a being shaped by duty and hope. Daniel realized the decision felt less like a burden and more like a path he had not considered. He asked what would happen if he chose to stay. Lyra said she would guide him through the city's systems. He would learn its harmonics, its temporal flows, its star archives. He would become its second guardian. Daniel stepped to the edge of the terrace and looked at the glowing pillars. A millennium of silence had shaped this world. Lyra had endured all of it. She had waited for him because an ancient traveler from Earth had once saved her people. Daniel felt an unexpected sense of heritage, a connection across time he never knew he carried. He turned to her. She stood with her hands folded calmly. He asked what she wanted. Not what the city wanted, not what her people predicted, but what she desired. She met his gaze. She said she wanted someone who could understand her long vigil, someone who could speak to her as an equal, someone who could fill the silence she had carried.